Guten Morgen, everyone.
So exciting.
Today we're doing audio plates, The Adventures of Jeff and Klaus.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, we team up in one of the episodes coming up, actually.
Yes, it's super fun. That's a really good one.
How does that work? Is it like a race to the bottom, or
Always. Just pedal to the metal, race to the bottom.
For sure.
it's like the quest to get the most refined strain of pot or something? Or does it involve aliens this time?
Well, Jeff's legs get mangled in one episode, and Klaus tries to help him rehabilitate, shall we say. Well, wait, you get mangled, and then you believe that everyone dies in the family, and so you're grief-stricken, and so Klaus offers to have grief sex with you.
That's correct.
And
to help me get over the pain that I'm feeling of the loss of our family.
Yeah, we won't tell you how it culminates. You'll have to tune in when the episode drops.
But it's very, very sexual. Yeah. Very a lot of innuendo, and it's all about healing.
Mm-hmm. In your endo, not in my endo. But it's needless to say, it's a show that. The wonderful thing about this show is it just keeps stepping over lines and going further than ever before, and I'm genuine when I tell you that I find it still really fresh and funny and outlandish and raw and a really good show.
I agree.
I'm not just saying that because you're interviewing me here. I genuinely watch it because it makes me laugh, and I think they're really great.
And week to week, you're just so surprised that it just keeps going crazier and crazier and pushing the boundaries. And what's really interesting this last season and the season before, the relationships between the characters, we seem to be mixing it up a lot more, and then doing a lot of stuff as the whole family together. There's episodes where we're all in it. And it's so exciting. I find it to be like the dynamics really changing, and it's becoming a whole different thing.
Yeah, the characters shift, and it's. I was saying on the ride over here that I think Francine is my new favorite character. She's just got this oddly dismissive attitude towards the family that she loves that I find very funny. She's just a great mom, and yet sometimes just says some of the most horrible things, as they all do, I guess, in a way.
Right.
But in the end, they all just kind of come back together, which makes it something that's both familiar and heartwarming, I guess.
I was wondering, in terms of do the characters? I mean, obviously the characters on the show are really sort of exaggerated, but do they ever remind you of your own family members at all in some traits, some ways?
Well, Steve reminds me of me. I'm mortified to reveal that of all the characters on that show, by far, the one that I most relate to is Steve. Mm-hmm. Just this. It really just checks all the boxes. Into science, frustrated with girls, likes ventriloquism, anything nerdy. I mean, just all this stuff. It's like you poor little boy, man. And that's who I relate to the most.
And Haley reminds me of my wife in real life, which is really crazy. Yeah, because I'm a total disaster half the time, and my wife's dry and sarcastic and looks at me like, "What are you doing?" half the time. It's like I'm annoying her, And Rachel does that so well on our show, and I just sometimes watch it and I just go, "Oh my God, this is so too real for me." It's just so spot on sometimes, and I'm just like, "Oh." Crazy.
That's very meta.
It is. It's really surreal sometimes, And Rach and I have this great relationship outside of the show, and we love each other, and it's just such a wonderful thing. But we don't act that way. It's totally different, our relationship. But she plays, and it reminds me of my wife in a good way, But it's like, she keeps me on track and from doing really stupid things sometimes, and motivated, and and it's like that's what Haley's doing on the show a lot of the times, keeping me out of trouble and getting me straight and back on track, and figuring out what I'm dealing with to help me get through it, and so it's very interesting.
So is it becoming a bit of a biopic then? Are we going to see the adventures of Jeff Fischer as Jeff Fischer, but the real life stories maybe?
I mean, they have done that over the years, for sure. They used to call me, the writers would call me, from the writers' room and be like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I'm at the Real Inn having a fish taco." And then that became the episode where I was down in Mexico trying to find the guy who makes the best burrito on the planet in inject sour cream into each bean. So that's what used to happen, and they still kind of, I think, do that. It's crazy. But they take it way further than my original, like, they just ask me what's happening, and then, oh, I'm at a Dead concert, and then that became the big, the Fish episode.
The Fish concert,
The
yeah.
Fish, you know, which is super fun.
Yeah.
You know?
I didn't realize
When
that.
did you get kidnapped by aliens and turned into a clone of yourself?
I wish. I wish. I would love to get kidnapped by an alien one day. They're out there. Let's see it. I want to see
Rescued
it.
by the ghost of Sinbad.
That was amazing.
I've always wanted that to happen because they had UFO sightings around my hometown of Greeley, Colorado when I was a kid, and I always wanted to like be driving by one of our cornfields out there and just see something hovering over a field, and it's like, what do you do? Do you keep driving, or do you stop and check it out, or what do you? Back then, it's like Close Encounters of the Third Kind was the big thing. It's like, I think I'm gonna go say hi and see what. And now it's like, it's more like nope. And it's like, I don't think I'm. It's more of a nope scenario.
Probably.
Maybe not.
Right. So, Dee, what's the difference between doing this show where you can mostly focus on Klaus versus like the Bad Batch where you're doing all the voices?
Well, it's a very different kind of ensemble, isn't it? Both are ensemble shows, both Bad Batch and American Dad, very much so, which I think makes them a much more interesting show. But Bad Batch, I've never, and I probably never will have anything like that, where I'm just talking to myself for the whole show, and that's more straight ahead dramatic. But they both shows, I think, thrive on having distinct characters. The trick with the Bad Batch is to keep them all distinct, and so that there's a dynamic between all of them of what's happening. That there's not just this kind of sameness that washes it all out. With American Dad, it's all built in because all the characters are all in these different positions, and so it's this kind of nice perpetual dynamic that keeps that show going. But these days, both are shows that are recorded separately. We do a table read together on American Dad, which is probably the most fun part of it, and then they record us separately, and then we do pickups, and then they work all the magic. Both are shows that are very different in the final product from what the original rendering from the table read or read through record is. So it's we have a very limited view of that as a voice actor. Like for today, they got to at least send us a few episodes to view of the ones that are going to drop. The 15 that are going to drop, I think it's 15 starting on September 15th, I think. But usually it's like we can't remember what we did because we recorded it a year ago or maybe more, and they've done all this finishing while we were out of the picture.
From a sorry.
Oh, no, carry on.
Oh, thanks. From a technical point of view, how did you go about developing Klaus's voice and what it would sound like distinct from your own? And then how have both of your vocal performances evolved in 18 seasons?
Well, Klaus, I spent a year in Germany in college, and so I auditioned the character as Klaus, even though it was originally written in French, because I thought it would be funnier. And then ultimately I just kind of let the writing and how the other performers sound help me triangulate what the character needs to be, which is now different from what it used to be. Like Jeff was saying, the show and the roles, they ripen or they change as the seasons play out. Klaus started out just kind of sexy fish hitting on Francine all the time, but now he's more conniving, more frustrated, and oddly more social. Like he's got like boys, his gang, down in Tampa or in Chicago or all these other places. So he's really branched out and changed. I mean, and your character's gone through all kinds of changes over the seasons.
Yeah,
My God.
Absolutely. So basically, I'm playing myself, but I'm playing a guy who smokes way more weed than I could ever in my life, and so I just went with that, and I have all these incredible, growing up, all these famous stoners that I loved so much, whether it was Cheech and Chong or Sean Penn in Fast Times, and you just have to find your own way of that, and so I just go down to this rabbit hole where I just feel like, okay, I've been there, let's just take it down a little bit, and life is easy. And in my real life, I'm pretty stressed out, and I'm really like an A-type personality. Sometimes I'm always moving, and this guy is way more chill and like everything's cool. And so you just keep that in mind. And yeah, I mean, now, I started off as like, I'm just kind of the boyfriend, then we get married, and now, it's like,
And you get abducted.
Yeah.
And then you come back.
I have
And
an alien brain now, and so there's so many things now that they can do with my character. Because am I really a whole human? Am I part alien? I mean, I'm part alien, right? And so it's like you don't know what's happening, and so I think there's a lot to explore still. And then the Haley and I relationship has been getting stronger and interesting, and we try to have a threesome with the Weekend, and so it's like all kinds of crazy things. So I do find it's evolved in a really beautiful way, and the family dynamic I think has really become just more meshed together.
And they'll go far with it. That's because it seems like a fairly standard family sitcom that seems fairly grounded in reality. But we've got, like, there's one episode coming up that's called Gernot and Strudel, which is about a German children's show that Klaus watched when he was a kid, where things went wrong during a particular episode that really messed him up. And so he has Dr. Weitzman, a character in our show named after Matt, our showrunner, put all the family in the bodies of these puppets that are from this childhood show from his childhood. And
it's dark.
It's very dark and bizarre, and you can go really far in these weird ways with a cartoon. And that's why I brought it up, is because it at times it's like, oh, they're just humans in a human story, and it's fairly straight ahead. But then they go all of these bizarre places. They've got the most bizarre Christmas episode that this show has ever done, and that's saying something.
Yes.
And that's coming up for Christmas time.
Yep. And we just recorded. Can we talk about the Scooby-Doo?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, we all become characters from the Scooby show.
Amazing.
And
That's-
I'm Shaggy, and it's just hilarious, and it's incredible, and it's spot on. Like, we go down that road, and the van is the mystery van, and it's a blast. So we have some really exciting things. I think they're really pushing the boundaries of even. It's always been out there, and sometimes I just go, wow, this is incredible. Who thinks of this? This is brilliant.
Yeah.
And it's kind of the beauty of the format of the show. Okay.
Sorry, thank you so much, you guys.
Thank you.
We're having so much fun
It's like you
blabbing
play with
on
the
and
format
on.
where sometimes you do ongoing storylines, and then sometimes they just do like the weirdest crap, like apocalyptic stuff, and it just ends, and then the next week it's all back to normal.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
That is really fun.
There's a fearlessness to
Yeah.
that kind of creative insanity that is still very much alive with the show, that makes it as good, I think, at least as good, if not better than it's ever been, in my opinion.
I'm 100% with that. Yep, absolutely.
Can you get a quick picture?
Yeah, for sure.
Thanks. Thank you. All right.
Amazing.
Can't wait to see the rest of it. Thank you very much.
Thanks so much, y'all.
Thank you.
Yeah, it was
Enjoy
fun.
your con.
Thank you.